us that we, through self-awareness, can change patterns. So we have two things that we've got to be willing to do. One is we want to find out what is it that we value, and we want to begin to make those values the very center of our being. And then we want to be self-aware enough to notice where I waver, where I get into reactive mode, and go back to old ways of thinking and being that do not serve me any longer. And we want to know that you're not trapped by that. That simply the fact that I have historically reacted in a certain way does not mean that I am trapped and condemned to react in that manner in the future. If I become aware of what it is that I stand for and what I value, then in moments of stress, that awareness will come back up. And I can ask myself the question, how do I take a stand for this value in this situation? So what I find works is to be willing to spend time in meditation and prayer, in study, and in research and looking to what is it that I would like to be known for. You know, what is it that I want to, if I were at my funeral, what would I want people to say? And then, when I'm willing to look at that, how do I want to be? What is it that I want to have said about me? Then ultimately, I can begin to say, what is the value that is within that thing? And as I start to look at that, I may find that love stands at the middle of my being. Or I might find that love is compassion. Or I may see that it's creativity. Or I might find that it's joy. Or I may see that it's life, wholeness, health, vitality. See, I may find that there is a spiritual concept that absolutely calls my soul. That's the one I came in with. And all those automatic reactions are normally the things that I got taught. And so as I'm willing to do this work and focus in daily on what is the thing that I desire to express, as I'm willing to do that, then I become aware of the places where I'm out of alignment with it. And instead of being critical with myself about that, I simply see that this is a place that I have an opportunity to grow. And I begin to do that growth. So it's vitally important that we begin to look to what is it that I hold as the principle, the main principles, and there may be more than one, that I value most in life and want to be remembered for. Now, that can lead us into a lot of really good journal writing, you know, and lead us to a space where we're considering what is it that I want to express. I find that the spiritual practice of visioning is helpful in this. Now, Ernest Holmes spoke towards the idea of having a mental equivalent of what we want. And I think most of us have taken that and we've made that idea too small. We've made it about things. I want to have a house that looks this way. That's an important thing to know. I want to have work that looks this way. I want to live in this manner. These are important things to know. But when we expand that, we start to see that the mental equivalent is actually about something deeper, and that's our principle. And so when I look instead at what is the mental equivalent, the idea of the principle that I hold as the center of my being, and then how do I bring that principle into action, my visioning becomes much bigger. My visioning becomes about being willing to open to an idea of the divine that is present for who I am. The very core of my being, who I am, what is the principle that calls me. And as I do that, I focus in on the things that are of vital importance. Then, when I know that principle, I can begin to say, how would love act in this situation? How would wholeness act in this situation? How would abundance act in this situation? How would joy act in this situation? And I can begin to have my actions align with what I truly value. Now, the ways that this gets called in is it's transformative in all of our relations. You know, he talks in here about what happens if I have my center of being someplace other than my principles, my values, my spiritual principles, the things that I care about. And he says, you know, if I say that I value love, and what I really value is, and I don't think about what that means, what do I do when my kids act in a way different than I want them to? Do I try and control them? Do I forget in the moment that that more important than the action is going to be the way that the children remember me later? If I'm on my workplace and something goes sideways, and I'm looking to how do I do this? Am I looking for power and control, or am I looking for the highest outcome? Am I looking to how do I be who I claim to be? How do I bring this essence of myself into the situation? If I'm looking to make a difference in the world, am I looking for power and influence, or am I looking for how to display the principles that I stand for? And I think that we can see that as from the Japanese experience, the importance of beginning to know what is it that I stand for. Because even then, in the most trying of times, what will be called forward is my highest value and my highest self. It was interesting because at the gathering, you know, that was our conference with United and International Centers for Spiritual Living, where we decided that we were doing away with the terms United and International and forming one new organization. And the gentleman who has been the president of the United, or the International, see, I'm so mixed now, I don't even remember the differences. But the gentleman who's been the president of the International, Gordon. Ken Gordon. He made a statement. Now, he was very moved, and I want you to know this man has stood, much like Sadat began to stand for oneness. This man has stood for oneness far before United got it. And he's the first one that I really heard speaking about this with such sincerity that he was willing to see it happen no matter what, and willing to work with everything that would mean. And this started with him probably 9 years ago when he became the president, and he started to talk with United and continue to press it, even though United was sort of involved in its own stuff at the time. And so you can imagine what it meant to him to see us vote at 98% to create a new organization that had ideals in common, and the major ideal being oneness, which is the first thing that we teach as a spiritual concept. And to actually live from that concept of oneness and to move to a higher way. And so he was deeply, deeply moved. Matter of fact, you know, he kept tearing up, you know, at the party where we were celebrating this, where it was announced. He kept tearing up, and you know, he had to take his glasses off and wipe his eyes. But he spoke about the fact that while they were counting the votes, that he had sort of gone outside to meditate. We're in San Diego, and he was looking at the ships, and he realized that when he looked out, it was a story he had been told, and that story was, if you're standing at the level of the deck of a ship and you look out in all four directions, let's just say you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and there's no tsunami, so you're not being